In the first case, you learned how to pass the data from parent component to child component. Okay. Now, what we need to pass the data from child component to parent component. Okay, there may be cases then we need to pass the data from child component to parent component. So we will see through this example that how you can pass the data from child component to parent component, and this is possible through ViewChild decorator. We will be using this ViewChild decorator through which we can receive the data from child component to parent component. So this time what we will do, let's go to child component here, and let's create one uh, m message from child. Okay, so hello from child. This is message from child. Okay, now we will pass this data which is in child component to parent component. That means in this component we will pass this message. Okay, so we need to write here some code here. So we will write here ViewChild at the rate, then inside this we will write here name of child component. So name of child component is child component. Okay, not this one. Yeah, here, and then say we will create a variable here child, and then you need to call this child component from above, right? And apart from this ViewChild you need to also call here, right? And here say implicitly it should be any, right? Let's keep it any. And to load this message we need to call here ng after view init decorator, and inside this we will write this dot message equals to child. And yes, we need to write this one here. We need to declare here string, and here this dot child message from child dot message from this dot message from child dot, not with child actually, semi. So equals to this dot child dot this one. Okay, and finally this data we will show into our parent component.html here. Okay, so when you run the application you can see hello from child. That means this is parent component. Which one? This is parent component, but the message is we are getting from child component, right? So once again let me explain you that how this works. First you need to write the data into child component. There is no complexity in this, only one line code. In child component whatever data is here we are simply writing here. To access this To access this data, we need to write ViewChild into parent component here, ViewChild, and then you have to pass the component name, the class name itself, which is here, this child component. Okay, you need to pass here in parent component, and then simple variable called child any. Now you need to write here message child, which we have mentioned here, this message child, right here string. Simply we are taking a variable here, and this dot message from child. And yes, don't get confused, this one we are passing here variable only. Okay, and this name should be exactly same as this one, right? So we are passing here the data, this dot child dot message from child, and we are storing into our local variable here this data. Okay, into here, assigning the data here. Now finally we will display here through message. Simply you can write here message. If you refresh and check, you can see the data is same, hello from child. Okay, so as you can see, it's very simple. You just write the message in child, and to show into the parent you need to write here ViewChild, and then you need to write here this as well, ng after view init, so that the data can be loaded, and then finally this data is passed to its HTML. So far you have learned in step number 1 through through input, right, from parent to child. In step number 1, in step number 2, you learned so far in 2, method number 2, from child to parent, right, child to parent. How? Through ViewChild and ng after ViewInit. Okay, so hope you understand these 2 steps. And in step number 3, I will show you that how you can pass the data from child component to parent component through output decorator. Okay, so now let's see the practical example that how you can pass the data through output decorator from child component to parent component. Let's do one thing. Let's create 2 more components, ngc parent 1, so that there will be no confusion. Fresh data we will show there. Okay, and then child 1. Okay, and finally once again ng serve. In here let's close this and let's collapse this as well. So we have child 1 and parent 1. So inside parent component HTML we will call here app child 1, and inside this, but before that let's write some message here. So inside this we will write this data message event receive message, then dollar event. Okay, and here in CSS, in parent component.ts, here let's simply write here message string. That's it. any, and here we will create a function called receive message and then $event, and finally this data will be assigned to here. Okay, and same. All right, now let's go to child1 component dot ts. We will write code here at the rate output message event. Which message event? Which we are calling here message event. Okay, in child component. So here we'll write at the rate output. So we need to write here output here as well, and then event emitter also we need to call event emitter. So at the rate output message event, then event emitter, and then string. Here send message here, and we will write this dot message event dot this dot message. Okay, so this variable needs to be declared here in the top. Here. This let's message any. Okay, that means what? From child component we are sending the message, right, through this send message, and the message will be sent through this output decorator to parent component. Okay, which we will work here. So in child component, let's create one function, one button. So here we had created this function. So this function we will call on click. So it will say send message. So when we click on the button, this one, when we will click on this button, then this function will be called the child component, sorry, this one, and then an event will be generated, and this event, through this event, through output, it will reach to parent component. So if you see, and yes, actually we have to define here what to write. Message from child component. Okay, message from child component. So this message we will send to parent component. Okay, this is child component. So how this will be sent? Through here, when we will click on this send message, then this message event we will pass this message to here. Okay, and through this message event it will go to parent one component here receiving message. So whatever event or message will become, it will come here, right? And finally it will display here in parent one component after receiving the data from child component. So it may be a bit complicated, but the first input decorator is better process, I think. But still you need to learn that in case you see somewhere output and input, so that you understand that how this whole process flows. So let me explain once again how this whole flow is going. First it starts from here. This is step number one. Okay, we have written some message. After this we will send this message through this function. Okay, but we cannot send the data directly from child component. So we need to take help of this output decorator and event emitter. Okay, constructor. We need to take help of these for sending the data, this data to parent component, right? So it will emit the event. So we are passing this here message. Okay, and where this message is going, this message is going to parent component. Okay, here this message is going to parent through how, through here, through this selector, app child selector here. And now what we need to do, let's go to here app component.html and write here parent1. Okay, parent1. This time we will call this selector parent1. Now let's see. Now I will click on send message. Okay, so as you can see, it nothing happens because we need to display the data into parent component here. Which one? The message, right? Message. How? Why? Because finally we have to show this message, na, which we received from child component. Okay, so now let's click here and you can see message from child component. So this is how, guys, through output decorator, how you can pass the data from child component to parent component. This is child component and this one is parent component. That means we are sending the data from child component to parent component through this event emitter and uh, through this legit child one here, yeah, through this output decorator and event emitter. And finally, in this last step, we will see how we can pass data from sibling from one component to any unrelated component, which is not parent component, no child component. So there can be any component. So how we can pass this through? So we will use here service for passing the data to any